Today we're going to be going over So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport. Now this book is going to be perfect for you if you're an entrepreneur who's just starting out in business. Maybe you are someone that's just starting out in a new career. But it also is going to be good for you if you are an experienced entrepreneur or someone experienced in their career to help guide you of the things that you should choose next to make your life the best that it could possibly be. Now, Cal Newport is one of my favorite authors, and I've done multiple of his other books on this channel already. But for those of you that are new here and haven't heard of Cal Newport, let me give you a quick introduction. He's a professor of computer science at Georgetown, so he's not just an author. He earned his PhD from MIT, and he's now written some of my favorite books, Deep Work and Digital Minimalism. I recommend that you go and check out the mind map videos that I did on each of those books, because those are good supplementary books to this one. This one I think is a great place to start. Deep Work and Digital Minimalism are kind of additions to this book. Now, the quote that I pulled out from So Good They Can't Ignore You is really just a good overview. This introduction is going to tell you exactly what we'll learn in the book here today. He says in the book, this argument flips conventional wisdom. It relegates passion to the sidelines, claiming that this feeling is an epiphenomenon of working a life well lived. Now, that part of the quote is really the entire all-encompassing sentence to this whole entire book. What we're going to be going over is passion versus working and becoming so good they can't ignore you, essentially. What Cal says in the book is, don't follow your passion, rather let it follow you in your quest to become, in the words of my favorite Steve Martin quote, so good that they can't ignore you. Now, that's really the entire argument of the book, but continuing on, he says, it's my hope that this insight that follows will free you from simplistic catchphrases like, follow your passion, and do what you love. The type of catchphrases that have helped spawn the career confusion that afflicts so many of us today. And I know there's a lot of you out there, because I've talked to you during my coaching sessions, where you're working at a certain job or you're doing a certain thing, and you have this kind of daydream of following your passion. Cal is going to kind of crush that a little bit in this book, but after he crushes it, he's going to share some really, really helpful advice for what you should do next. So definitely stay tuned for that. And instead, continuing on, he says, and instead, provide you with a realistic path towards a meaningful and engaging work life, which is, of course, what all of us want. Now, the subtext to the book is why skills trump passion in the quest for the work you love. Something that most people don't want to think about. Right? Most people want to have a passion project. They want to have a work that they're passionate about. But as Cal says here, skills really are more important. And he puts forward in the book that passion is not something you should take into account when trying to find a career. It's very interesting. And it's something that I really agree with, because as someone that started 2 businesses based on passion and now started another successful business that was not necessarily based on passion, but more so based on developing high-quality skills, I can tell you that the high-quality skill business is actually much more fun and much more fulfilling, because passion fades quickly. It burns really bright, but you run out of fuel pretty quickly if you're running only on passion. Now, we'll go more into depth in this during the mind map. I'll share a little bit about my story. I'll share a little bit about stories of others that I've helped through coaching. Essentially, he's saying that passion isn't really what drives us, and maybe more accurately, passion does drive us, but again, it burns brightly and fades quickly. Instead, really we should be looking for a few specific things that are going to make our lives more fulfilling. This is one of my favorite books of all time. It really, really helped me when I was burnt out of my marketing business because I wasn't passionate about it anymore. So that really helped me. I recommend you pick it up and read it cover to cover. Anything Cal Newport does is worth diving deep into, including Deep Work and Digital Minimalism, which I recommend you go and check out those mind map videos after you finish this one. Now we'll move into some of the big ideas. Now, each one of these quotes is a big idea from the book. I'm aiming to share actionable advice with you, and there's 2 of them that are in black. The 2 black ones are the ones that I think are the most important parts of the entire book, and you'll want to make sure that you stay tuned for each of those. The first one that we'll dive into is actually the rules. So this is kind of the framework for the entire book. The 4 rules are also the 4 primary sections of the book. Rule number 1 is don't follow your passion. Rule number 2 is be so good they can't ignore you. Rule number 3 is to turn down a promotion. And rule number 4 is to think big and act small. Each of these sections are packed full of information and stories, and I recommend that you go and pick up the book because there's a lot of really great stories. And if you're in a position where you're feeling a little bit backed up against the wall of, I want to go and follow my passion, or I'm not feeling fulfilled in my job, there's a lot of stories in the book that are going to help guide you through real life scenarios. And I think that's a really great way to go about it, picking up the book. They're all equally important as a whole, but one might apply to you more than the others right now. So all the rules are important as a whole. It's kind of in my eyes, it's kind of a system. It's kind of, instead of rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, it should be step 1, step 2, step 3. And inside this mind map, really what I've tried to do is just distill each of these rules into something that's actionable and practical that you'll be able to remember when something comes up in your life where a rule might apply. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was passion doesn't matter. And the quote from the book goes like this: when Dan Ping talks about what science knows, he's referring, for the most part, to a 40-year-old theoretical framework known as self-determination theory, which is arguably the best understanding science currently has for why some pursuits get our engines running while others leave us cold. Isn't this so interesting? Who would have even known there was a such thing as self-determination theory? People are actually studying what keeps us going and what gets us excited and which one's going to last. That's essentially what self-determination theory is all about. We're going to continue on. He says, SDT tells us that motivation in the workplace or elsewhere requires that you fulfill 3 basic psychological needs. Factors described as the nutriments required to feel intrinsically motivated for your work. And that's really what you're looking for. You're not necessarily looking for anything other than intrinsic motivation, feeling like you want to get up and go to work, feeling like you want to get up and create something while you're going to your job. Number 1 is autonomy, the feeling that you have control over your day and that your actions are important. So this is very interesting. If any of you have ever been into the place where you don't have control over your day and your actions don't feel that important, you know that it's kind of a special kind of hell. And autonomy is one of the number 1 things that when you're creating a business, when you're starting a new career, you want to make sure that if you can't have autonomy right away, that there will be an ability for you to have autonomy in the future. Number 2, the second thing that you need to fill this basic psychological need is competence. The feeling that you're good at what you do. And this is more of a long-term thing, but you might look at this as, if you're just starting out with something, you might look at this as, is this a skill that I can learn? Is this something that I can get better at along the way? Number 3 is relatedness, the feeling of connection to other people. So a lot of the time when you're either creating something, you're starting a business or anything like that, it can feel fairly lonely. And it's important to make sure that your business is giving something to other people, it's contributing to the greater good, or even if you're working one-on-one with people, that can be a great way of feeling connected to other people. Really, really important to feel connected to other people because humans are such social animals. So those are the 3 things that you're really looking for in your work. And when you find these things, you'll notice that none of them really have anything to do with passion.
Starting a business is...
So, how do you create work you love if we're not passionate about it? Follow the self-determination theory. For example, do you feel you have control over your days and that your actions matter? And if you don't, how is that currently affecting you? Is that one of the reasons why you have this daydream of potentially going to find your passion or quitting it all and throwing it away and going to live in a van like so many people are looking to do nowadays? Do you feel like you're good at what you do? Do you have a level of skill, or are you learning a level of skill in your chosen career or craft? Do you feel connected to the other people in your work? So either your co-workers, either your employees or the people you manage, or even potentially the people that you are serving. So for example, when I'm doing these mind maps, I feel connected to you guys. I'm trying to bring the best possible actionable and rememberable information to you. The answers to these questions Cal puts forth in the book matter much more than passion does. And I have to agree. Science doesn't tell us that we need a pre-existing passion in order to be successful, even though so many people are telling us that that's what we need. So why do so many people say that you need to be passionate about something? Well, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. My thoughts are they are passionate about what they do. We're not getting advice from people that are just starting out. We're getting advice from people who already control their day, people who already feel competent, people who already feel connected. And it's kind of a bias where, are they really passionate about what they do, or do they have all these three things in line? Quite often, they already have these three things in line, and passion versus these three things kind of gets muddy, and it's hard to tell which one really is giving them that intrinsic motivation to get up to work. If they were really passionate about something, but they had to wake up at 7 a.m. every day, work till 3 p.m., and didn't get to control what they did, would it be the same? I would say probably not. And from my experience, definitely not. I was really passionate about going to the gym and training people. But when I had to wake up at 5 a.m. and sometimes had to be in the gym until 9 p.m. at night, I didn't have control over my schedule. I didn't necessarily feel connected with those people because I was so dang tired that they all kind of blended into the same person. It was just a job that I was doing. And it's not that my passion for the gym went away. It's not that my passion for helping people went away, but I didn't have control over these three variables, and it really burnt me out. It's actually great news for a lot of us, because it means that all of us can become passionate about our work, or at least kind of figure out how to fulfill these three needs that we all have. We can become so good they can't ignore us, which will give us so good that make us so good that we have control over our days. We can feel competent about our skills, and we'll be able to connect with people. So really, these three things are what the entire book is trying to show you how to create in your life. And that first chapter really is just kind of explaining why passion doesn't really matter, and why those three self-deterministic factors are the most important part in doing work you love, including in entrepreneurship as well. Like I said, I know a lot of us are entrepreneurs on the channel. Our next big idea is about craftsmanship. So to summarize, he says in the book, to summarize, I presented two different ways people think about their working life. The first is the craftsman mindset, which focuses on what you can offer the world. The second is the passion mindset, which instead focuses on what the world can offer you. The craftsman mindset offers clarity, while the passion mindset offers a swamp of ambiguous and unanswerable questions. There's something liberating about the craftsman mindset. It asks you to leave behind the self-centered concerns about whether a job is just right, and instead put your head down and plug away at getting really damn good. And that's a distinction that I think is probably one of the most important in the entire book. I could easily have made this another black one, but I think the ambiguity of passion, of following your passion, of following your emotions, it seems like it's really great, but to be honest with you, as someone who's followed their passion for most of their adult life, it is very, very difficult, because your passion is always changing, your interests are always changing. And if you're not focusing on getting really damn good at the thing that you are choosing to do with your life, the things that you're trying to bring to the world, it's going to be really, really difficult to stay on the same path. Because no one owes you a great career or a great business, it argues. You need to earn it, and the process won't be easy. And this is really all about the craftsman mindset versus the passion mindset, which is a huge part of the entire book. Whereas the craftsman mindset focuses on what you can offer the world, the passion mindset focuses on what the world can offer you. This mindset is how most people approach their working life. And this is a game changer for me when it comes to getting into a flow state. Previously, while working on things, I would work on them to get them done, or I would worry about what to do next, and that really robbed me, creating an environment where I wasn't feeling connected to my work or like the people that I was helping. So, for example, when I had a passion mindset, when I was trying to do things that I was passionate about, either I was passionate about the thing, or if I wasn't, I would just work on them to get them done. And that really robs the day, because you can't be passionate about things all the time, especially when you're trying to make money off of them. So even though I controlled my own schedule, I wasn't really getting the two critical ingredients. Now I only focus on what I'm doing, but how I'm doing it. Constantly trying to up-level my skills. I'm constantly trying to get better at mind mapping. I'm constantly trying to get better at communicating. I'm constantly trying to get better at different YouTube and SEOs. And I give away a free coaching session because I'm constantly trying to up my level of coaching. It's extremely hard to coach someone that you don't know, haven't talked to, haven't created a relationship with, but every single person I give that free coaching session to, they leave feeling measurably better. And that's the number one goal that I'm going for, up-leveling my skills. Craftsman through coaching. One of my coaching clients, right? She works as an assistant to the CEO in a small business. It's about 25 people. She came to me asking me to help her find something she was passionate about in order to create a business or to find a new career. Very common with my coaching clients. In fact, I talked to another person the other day about the same exact problem. It's very common, very, very common, and I'm happy to help with it. One problem. This client didn't have a passion. She didn't have something that she wanted to do, but she was suffering right now. So what could we do? Instead of focusing on finding her passion, writing down a list or trying different things and etc., I decided to focus on how we could use SDT to turn her into a craftsman and help her enjoy her day. First, we need to find a way she can control her own schedule. So what did we do? It's pretty easy. We asked her boss for flex time. She got very good at her job and got 2 hours of flex time, so she could come in a little early or she could go home a little late. Not only the 100% control, but nonetheless, it's much better. Not 100% control, but nonetheless, it's measurably better. Measurably better. We needed her to feel like she was up-leveling her skills. Now, she worked as an assistant, so this was fairly difficult for her. She often found herself not doing much throughout the day. So we decided to use that time to learn, specifically to learn skills to be really, really good at her current job. All sorts of books, podcasts, and YouTube videos are dedicated to her job, so this was relatively easy. She started to learn and started to see ways that she could become better and measurably impact people in her life, including her boss and the people that worked at the company. Finally, we needed to connect her deeply to who she is really helping. So next, I helped her see that she wasn't just helping her boss. Instead, she was really contributing deeply to the vision of the entire company, which was something that she actually connected with, especially when she first got started. But the day-to-day monotony has a way of robbing you of that vision, of that connection to what the company is actually doing. And there's many different ways that she could connect to the vision of the company. There's many different ways that she could connect to other people. For example, she could be connected to the other people in the business. If the boss is on top of his schedule, if the boss is on top of his different activities, because of her, the company might be making more money and other people could get raises and you could help all those people's families. But it takes some thought to think about those things and see how you're really measurably impacting the world. One of the 3 things in SDT. The next major point here is 10,000 hours, and a lot of you might have heard of this before. When I first encountered the work of Erickson and Charnas, this insight startled me. It told me that in most types of work, that is, work that doesn't have a clear training philosophy, most people are just stuck. So if you don't have a clear training philosophy, most people are just stuck. This generates an exciting implication. Let's assume that you're a knowledge worker, which is a field without clear training philosophy. If you can figure out how to integrate deliberate practice into your own life, you have the possibility of blowing past your peers in your value, as you'll likely be alone in your dedication to systematically getting better, because most people haven't come across this idea before. That is, deliberate practice might provide the key to quickly becoming so good that they can't ignore you. And remember, I'm not sure if I went through this all the way, but the better you get, the easier it is to negotiate, to create those 3 different self-deterministic factors. You can get better control over your schedule, you can feel like you are actually up-leveling your skills, and you can feel like you're really good at your job, and you can also connect to more people. The more so good they can't ignore you, you are. So to successfully adopt the craftsman mindset, therefore, we have to approach our jobs with a dedication to deliberate practice. So 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. Cal talks about the 10,000 hour rule that was popularized by Malcolm Gladwell. This is an idea that excellence at any task takes a certain amount of practice in order to get good. Specifically, the time is around 10,000 hours. But here's the thing. Most people get this wrong. It's not 10,000 hours of just being there or doing the thing. It's not 10,000 hours of sitting at your desk, sitting in front of the screen. It's about deliberately practicing the skill for that many hours. something which, if not built into the process, almost will never get done. Most knowledge workers don't have a path to becoming great, and if you're on almost any profession, there is no path to becoming great, which leads to most of them staying at the same level because they don't understand deliberate practice and they don't incorporate it into our lives. But not for us. Now that we know how important it is to practice deliberately in order to be successful, we're going to make sure that we do it. So how do we build a deliberate practice? Well, I recommend that you check out a few of these mind maps. I've already done them on the channel, so it'll be easy for you. Deep Work by Cal Newport is all about cultivating a deliberate practice. That's a great book. Go and check it out. Number 2 is How We Learn by Benedict Carey. It's going to allow you to shortcut the amount of time that's going to take you to learn any new skill. And number 3 is The One Thing by Gary Keller. It's going to show you the importance of focus on one thing. It's going to show you how to make that 10,000 hours as absolutely impactful as possible. I recommend that you go and check out those books, build a deliberate practice, and become a craftsman so that you can have a piece of those 3 self-deterministic factors. Now, next we're going to talk about rare and valuable. So this is kind of the byproduct of 10,000 hours. The career capital theory of great work, the traits that define great work are rare and valuable. Supply and demand says that if you want these traits, you need a rare and valuable skill to offer in return. So, for example, if you want to have those 3 self-deterministic factors where you have your own schedule, you make sure that you can actually feel like you're really good at your thing and that you can impact people, you need to have skills that are rare and valuable. Think of these rare and valuable skills you can offer as your career capital, right? So it's kind of like the amount of money that you have in your career savings account. The craftsman mindset, with its relentless focus on becoming so good that they can ignore you, is a strategy well suited for acquiring career capital. This is why it trumps the passion mindset if your goal is to create work that you love. Craftsman mindset, all about becoming really, really good. Passion mindset, all about following the whims of what you are emotionally feeling about a particular skill or a particular business or a particular career. So if you want a kick-ass career, first you need career capital. Capital is defined as having rare and valuable skills. Now, what is rare and valuable? To me, rare means that someone else can't easily get the skills that you've accumulated. And valuable means that someone is willing to pay top dollar or give you accommodations for these skills. So how do we accumulate skills that are rare and valuable? Well, there's a couple of different ways. First, we need to make sure that whatever endeavor we're going to do will be valuable enough. We need to choose a certain career. We need to choose a certain skill that will be valuable enough for people. A lot of people play video games for 10,000 hours, but it's not a super valuable skill. Some of you might say, well, there's a lot of people making a lot of money in video games, and I would say that's absolutely right, but there also is a good deal of luck involved. Next, we need to adapt the craftsman mindset and work for the full 10,000 hours, which is building up our skills. So let's take personal trainers, for example, my previous career. How would I go about it now if I was to get back into it? Well, how valuable is this skill? For me, it's a very valuable skill. Some personal trainers are able to make millions of dollars a year. Now, they're not necessarily training people one-on-one, but they might be influencers, they might be people that have online training programs, and etc. People need and want this service, so there is definitely money there, contrary to popular belief. But let's think about how rare the skill is. New personal trainers are a dime a dozen. Weekend certifications or college certifications are really easy to attain. So how do you set yourself apart? Really, it's 10,000 hours of focused work. New skills, certifications, specializing in something specific, and learning more valuable skills and stacking them on top, namely sales and marketing. So, can you become a very successful personal trainer with a lot of career capital and all 3 self-deterministic traits? Absolutely. Is it likely? No, because it's going to take a very, very long time, and most personal trainers start because of passion, not because of craftsmanship. Continuing on, the very last point of the book is the number 1 rule. Rule number 1 is just kind of a recap here, I should say. So this is a recap. I argued in rule number 1 that follow your passion is bad advice, as the vast majority of people don't have pre-existing passions waiting to be discovered and matched to a job. In rule number 2, I then countered that people with compelling careers instead start by getting good at something rare and valuable, building what I call career capital, and then cashing in this capital for the traits that make great work. In this understanding, finding the right work pales in comparison to working right. So again, recapping, passion versus craftsman. Cal puts forward in the book that working right is more important than right work. This is a concept that's not talked about too much, but it's something that I agree with a single caveat. I think people in the world should go after their passion if they absolutely can't not follow it. Their cause, those people probably aren't watching to the end of this video because they probably wouldn't have even entertained this at all. Now, thanks for